Alright, it's time for the Dutch door, the interior, the insulation, and just a quick overview of where we're at this point. That's what episode 15 of Building Your Tiny House Dream is all about. So let's kick it off. Here we go. Alright, so the door's on. Let me walk you through how we made this door. This is mostly Andrew's handiwork right here, but it's pretty simple. You remember we cut the door opening, so we had that done. That measurement then was transposed onto a piece of plywood. Of course, you want to go a little bit less on all sides because it has to fit into the opening. So you want maybe a 1/4 inch at the bottom, an 1/8 at the top, something like that on the sides as well. So that became this piece of plywood, an entire piece. But we already knew that we were going to chop it in half for the Dutch door feature here. And what that meant is that we could subtract 3/4 inch because we knew that this was going to go in between here. And then another 1/8 because you had this gap too. So in other words, the ply didn't quite need to be big enough to fill the door frame because we knew that we were going to be expanding on this. So the front of this is Shushugiaband. It's this pine. It goes together right here. And you can see, if you look at the bottom of this, you can see that they interlock here. So you got that. And then what we did is we arranged that pine onto the piece of ply. We put construction adhesive between the Shushugiaband pine and the ply. And then you'll see these screw holes. So instead of running screws through the front of this, we ran screws through the back to just pull these two things together and hold them in place. Same thing holds true for up there. See a long row of screws up there, holding this together. Now on the Dutch door here, you need 2 sets of hinges, so 4 hinges total. Otherwise a door like this would probably take like 3 hinges, but you can't get away with doing just 1 hinge obviously, so you do one here, 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 and one down there at the bottom. The hardware we used for this, probably not to be recommended, but it was something that I had around and it was nicely aged. You probably want to do is want to go with like some more conventional hardware on something like this, because this was a little difficult to put in. Andrew had to route out sort of a space for this. That got it into this pocket right here, as you can see right there. And then we backed it up with this the secondary piece of ply to cover the back of the lock. This is just temporary right here, but this is going to come off. We're going to put a lip on the back of this so that the upper door can never pass the lower door, if you will, but it can move freely, right? Because it's going to need to move freely, since when the bottom's closed, you're still going to want to be able to open the top like that. So that's how that works. We're going to do barrel latch or similar to hold that in place right there so that the top does not open on its own. You pull out a little pin and then the top separates from the bottom. Now, the inside of the door frame currently has just this. If we didn't have this here, the door will continue and stress the hinges by going past the point where it's supposed to latch in. So this is just a way of stopping that. And what we're going to do is we're going to run that all the way around edge of the door. That's going to also create the seam where we're going to put the weather strip, and that's going to seal off this door on the back. Now in here, let me back away a little bit. In here, it's not done, but I've started to fill in the pockets that are created by way of the framing. On the back, of course, we just have the sheet of plywood. We have these 2x4s kind of holding things together. And then it creates this space right here. That's been filled in. I ran the wiring. You saw me do that the other day. I ran that through here. We got the one low voltage line. That's going to this switch. The wires behind here run up, and you'll see it go right there and through here. And then I run that wire along here, and I stop right there and have a little loop. The reason for that is when we put when we insulate this this roofing area, we're still going to want to, well, we're going to cut some holes into the plywood where the lights are going to go, and then we have to find this wire. So this just makes it a lot easier to find. And then we snip through this, we connect the light, and then we push everything back up into the cavity here, and then you have your light right there. Same thing's true, this runs all the way around to here. Same thing. Then we cross over through this this top rafter beam, and then over here and along this way, and it terminates right there. Focus. There we go. It terminates right there because that's going to be our last light. So I've decided to put 4 lights into the ceiling. And what I'm using, you'll see them shortly, are sort of recessed, small, flat 12 volt lights. So that's the low voltage stuff. The AC voltage continues to run along here, over here, behind this insulation panel, down through there, and then we come up here, and that terminates in this outlet. I also ran a low voltage line over here, potentially for a USB, like a USB, what's that called? The you know, we have 4 USB plugs. It's also going to be mounted in the wall most likely, so that's going to be there. This may or may not be, this area over here may or may not become a kitchen area. At least that's what I did last time. There might be some sort of storage thing here, and then obviously bed all throughout here, if that's the configuration somebody wants. Somebody could of course leave it like this with the beautiful flooring in there. That turned out really nice. That's tobacco acacia. So that's in, looks good. We'll have to clean up the sides. So what we're going to do that is we're going to take some thin plywood, come from down here to the top of this edge. That covers all that up nicely. And then there's going to be, man, words are really failing me today. Then there's going to be like a toe kick, basically, that runs once around the entire edge, so that'll clean that up. That's about it. So the rest of it, what I got to do is I got to clean up, I got to fill in these side pockets with some more insulation. Those are all cut to size. Then what's going to happen is we're going to close up this wall back here, completely close this in. Oh yeah, this is worth referencing. So we put these weird blocks in here. Why is that? Because when we put the wall in, it's like a tongue and groove 1/4 inch pine, and that pine has to rest on somewhere, right? You can't just have it wiggling it freely in the air here. So that tongue and groove is just going to keep running across here, fully across, over there, and we're going to fill all this in. And what that gets us is this wall closed up. And then what we can do once we have the tongue and groove pine on here is put up this first ceiling panel. And we can put that up and then push it all the way back up against the pine to create a nice tight seam back here. So that's the plan. That first ceiling panel, we've cut them to size. I'll show you that outside. We're already put them under pressure. We're flexing them because it's going to have to take on this arch shape. And so that first one is going to come into the room to the full 4 feet. So that's going to end, I don't know, somewhere around here. I should really mark that here on the thing, because what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to figure out how far this hole that we got to drill is from over there to here, and from here to what's going to be the end of that that ceiling board. So then the second board goes in. That's going to be a complete board as well. That's going to take us to over here, and then the same thing has to happen. We got to figure out where we're going to cut that hole, and then there's going to be like, I don't know, I guess, let's see, 2. It's going to be like a 2-foot piece left for back here. That is going to make up the final bit. So I think I measured 3 feet from here to there. So if the last piece is 2 feet, so we're going to come to about here. There we go. And then that last bit is just like one thin strip of it. Hopefully we'll get the seams pretty nice. You know, in the end, it's hopefully going to look a little bit like this and be, you know, nice and clean. If not, we're going to put a trim strip over it. Not a big deal. But yeah, we're going to do that. Andrew also put this all around the windows, so this will make it a lot easier for us to line up the tongue and groove pine around all these side windows. And on the front, we're just going to come up to this edge right here. We're going to go over this part, and then with a router, we're just going to clean up that edge. These little round bits in here, I'm probably just going to paint that black in there, and then it'll sort of blend in with the edge of this frame. So that's going to be good. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Let's see what else we got. Another thing that I did was cover these corners. I think I showed that last time already. Got these thin strips, go around the corner like that. Looks like the corner's covered. And then of course, they dressed up the windows here with this angle. And what I did is I continued that line down to here, and that came to right there. Now these are the, this is the ply I was talking about, which is currently being stressed out to take on the shape of the ceiling. The reason that helps is if you take a fresh piece of ply like this and you try to push it up against the roof there, it could snap in half. I've done it. It's not the end of the world. You got to get another piece of ply though. But by doing this, you can already sort of pre-shape it. The other thing you can do is spray some water on this side, which kind of softens it up, and that will also help you bend it. So we've actually got the 3 pieces of ply all together here. Of course, if you're gonna spray water on it, or you're gonna wet it with a sponge or whatever, you're gonna want to do that to each one of these and not do it to all 3 together. Oh, the other thing I did, yeah, here we go. The taillights, they were right here. Now what I didn't like about that was that there's so much distance that's covered above here, and it made the taillights really hard to see from you know, from behind. So I decided to move them back. All I had to do that was cut the wire. Well, I took the taillight off of here. It's easy. It's just these 2 bolts hold it in place. These 2 nuts. Take those off. You cut the wire. Cut this wire, and you add in another piece of wire, and then you just reconnect it up here. And what I used were these uprights. I wanted it out a little bit more, so I put a piece of the cedar in between there, used this angle, and then just drilled 2 holes into this angle and remounted it exactly the same way that it was mounted back here. What that gets you is, if we back out a little bit, is 2 taillights that are way more visible than they were before. So before, you know, you'd be lucky if you could see one of them. Now you can see both of them if you're behind the trailer, and it's just, you know, it's a safety thing. So there they are. All right, and that's the end of episode 15. I know I went over a lot of things there. Some things maybe not to the level of detail that you were hoping for. The book does cover some of these things a little bit better than the video does, but I hope it was helpful nonetheless. Next week we're going to be finishing out the interior to get to sort of a shell state, but I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next episode.